Discover the incredible transformation. How a new nanny revealed the hidden truth behind $1 million facade. Maria stepped into the McKinney home, feeling the crisp air of suburbia wrap around her like a fresh coat. The picturesque scene almost felt unreal: perfect lawns, immaculate facades, and a palpable sense of order. Yet, beneath this pristine surface, she sensed the weight of expectations pressing down on the family. Here she was, 28 and a single mother, seeking a fresh start while trying to support her little boy back home. The vibrant energy of Lily, the McKinney's 15-year-old daughter, stood in stark contrast to the polished walls, drawing Maria in like a moth to a flame. Yet, as she began her role, Maria felt the escalating pressure of her own circumstances. She wondered if she was strong enough to face the hidden conflict simmering in the McKinney household. She desperately grasped at the threads of her own ambitions while working relentlessly to provide stability for her son. The thread of nightly worries, bills, groceries, and the faint echo of dreams deferred could easily unravel the work she just started. Adjusting to a life surrounded by affluence was daunting. The immaculate kitchens and bubbling laughs drifted over from the other side of the suburban fences, tantalizing Maria as her heart fluttered with insecurity. As Tom, a corporate lightning bolt, rushed out of the house in suit and tie, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that she was drowning in someone else's perfect narrative. The longer she spent with the McKinneys, the clearer it became Tom's fierce ambition overshadowed everything else, while Emily's shiny smile concealed an insatiable need to present their family as flawless. Just beneath the surface, Maria sensed cracks beginning to form, especially in Lily, a girl who was clearly yearning for something more than grades, trophies, and hollow praise. Maria and Lily began to bond over sketchbooks and paintbrushes, yet Maria couldn't escape the tension that crackled in the air. The well-being of Lily became entangled with her own financial chaos, igniting a desperate urge within Maria. Could a flicker of creativity really break the heavy chains of expectation? She hesitated. What if Lily's passion for art only drew her deeper into a world of disappointment? That fear hung in the atmosphere, lingering like specters in the corners of the room. The thrill of nurturing this artistic soul was powerful, but there was a cost. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the stakes mounting, Maria stumbled upon damning evidence while straightening Tom's cluttered desk, a file concealed amidst corporate papers. As she perused the words printed in lifeless ink, her heart raced, her mind filled with questions and moral dilemmas. Did she flee from the truth to preserve her job or confront a reality that threatened the very identity of the McKinneys? The guilt weighed heavily. The righteous chose their battles, yet Maria grappled with self-preservation and a deep, insatiable desire for justice. As she stared at the documents, her awareness of Lily loomed large. Could a youthful spirit flourish under such a burden? Maria's thoughts spiraled as she faced her inner chaos. Parallel narratives collided, creating an intricate web of loyalty and honesty. The walls of the McKinney home, polished and pristine, now felt claustrophobic, enclosing her in a whirlwind of uncertainty. The question pressed upon her: could she muster the courage to choose a path that might ruin the lives of those who had welcomed her? And just as she teetered on this precipice, the jarring trill of her phone shattered the silence, the unknown lingering on the other side. Would this one moment change everything for Maria and her budding connection with Lily? The call sent shivers through her very core, driving her to question her choices as the carefully curated illusion around them began to crumble. Maria's heart raced as she reluctantly answered the call, the unfamiliar voice at the other end crackling with urgency. Is this Maria? You need to listen carefully. The tone sent a chill down her spine. In that moment, it became starkly clear, she was entangled in more than just the daily rhythms of the McKinney household. This was not just about settling into a new job, it was about facing a reality that could shatter everything she had glimpsed through a filter of privilege. Tom's been playing a dangerous game, the voice continued, an edge of warning creeping in. You need to take a closer look at what's really been going on. As the words hung in the air, Maria felt the weight of her decisions pressing down on her. With her mind racing, she thought about Lily. What awaited her if Maria allowed herself to retreat into silence, perpetuating the facade? She could not deny the thrill igniting within her a dawning realization that this newfound conviction could be the spark she needed to move beyond her own circumstances. Driven by emotion and a desperate need to protect not just Lily, but also her own sense of integrity, Maria hung up, her mind whirring. She suddenly felt alive, as if a fire had been lit within her, one she was ready to embrace. Confronting the dark truths she had stumbled upon was a risk, yet the prospect of letting such darkness fester beneath the surface seemed infinitely worse. Could she become the catalyst for change in a world that felt so foreign yet intricately tied to her future? Preparing to confront Lily, Maria considered her own evolving role not just as a caregiver, but as an advocate. Stepping into the teenager's creative space, a cluttered room bursting with art supplies, she knocked softly on the door. The timid tap echoed loudly in her ears. "Can I come in?" Maria asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Lily's response was muffled, but she waved Maria in. The room brimmed with an unmistakable tension, tinged with both excitement and apprehension. As they sat amidst brushes and paints, Maria felt a clarity enveloping her. Here was an opportunity to bolster Lily's artistic ambitions while fortifying her own strength in the process. "I really want to talk about your art," Maria ventured carefully, gauging Lily's distant gaze. "And about other things. There is something I need to share with you." Lily glanced up, seemingly startled. Maria was unprepared for the weight of her stare, as though the girl was looking right through her, seeing not just the nanny, but the woman who was yearning for change, just as much as she was feeling a surge of determination. Maria plunged into a conversation that was sure to change everything. She shared what she had found Tom's undisclosed dealings, but also her dream of freedom, artistic awakening, and the fierce hope that lay within both of them. Each word was a bead of courage, connecting them in a web of vulnerability and trust. As Maria spoke, Lily's expressions morphed, revealing layers of understanding behind the teenage veneer. Their eyes met over shared burdens and the tightening knot of expectation, the artistic soul of a girl yearning to escape the gilded cage of her family's ambitions. "Does that scare you?" Lily finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "More than I can say," Maria admitted, the honesty washing over her. In that moment, their connection evolved, creating a palpable bond that ignited their passions, and both women began to see what they could achieve together. They were neither the products of merely their circumstances nor passive participants in the lives chosen for them. But, just as the exhilaration of shared dreams began to buoy their spirits, the phone rang once more, breaking the fragile atmosphere. Maria's breath caught. Who could it be now? The impending sense of possibility collided with the reality of danger looming larger than ever. This new call might very well turn the tide of everything they had just begun to build. What awaited them on the other end could either fortify their resolve or further unravel the delicate threads tying their fates together. Maria's hand trembled as she reached for the phone, uncertainty gnawing at her composure. The moment felt weighty, as if every decision made so far was hinged upon what she would hear next. With a steadying breath, she answered. "Hello?" She spoke into the receiver, her voice steady, or at least pretending to be. "Maria, it's me, Tom." The voice was deeper, more authoritative, a stark contrast to the urgency of the previous call. "I need to talk. Can we meet?" The calmness in his tone belied the hidden complexities swirling in Maria's mind. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked, her heart racing anew. The confrontation she had envisioned with Tom needed to be strategic. This could be their only chance to interrupt the dangerous game he was playing. "Let us not discuss this over the phone. Can I trust you to meet me at the cafe near your place?" "Trust is a two-way street," she replied, surprised by the firmness in her own voice. There was a pause, and in it, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Did Tom know she was on to him? Beneath the facade of affluence, had he sensed her growing resolve? "Fine," she relented, her heart pounding in anticipation. "I'll be there. But I'm not alone. Do what you need to do, Maria. Just be there." And just like that, he hung up, leaving her with a void filled with potential confrontation and unprocessed fears. As she set the phone down, Maria's thoughts ricocheted between doubt and determination. This was a pivotal moment not just for her, but for Lily. She turned back to the messy artistry of Lily's room, now fraught with possibilities for both of them. They had begun to envision a new path, one where they could find their purpose together. But was she prepared to stand up to the very man who held the keys to that potential? With a resolve hardening within her, Maria decided to share her plans with Lily. She rapped lightly on the doorframe, drawing Lily's attention from her canvas. "Lily, can we talk?" "About what?" Lily's brows furrowed, a hint of trepidation evident. "I just got off the phone with Tom. He wants to meet." Lily's eyes widened, and for a moment, Maria saw the girl wrestle between instinctual fear and unspoken hope. "You can't trust him. He could make things worse." "We don't have to fear him. I mean to confront him," Maria explained, her voice imbued with a newfound strength. "You showed me that we can't live under the weight of his secrets anymore. Will you be okay?" The teenager's concern pierced through Maria's bravado, and she felt an urge to assure her with unwavering confidence. "I will be," she promised, the words fortifying her own resolve. "But I need you to focus on your art tonight. Let this inspire you. I'm fighting for both of us." The connection between them deepened as Lily nodded, fear evident yet softened by trust. This was about more than defiance, it was a resurgence. Hours later, Maria arrived at the cafe, the evening air thick with tension. She scanned the room, spotting Tom seated at a corner table, a phantom of calm beneath a veneer of bravado. Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself and walked over, resolving to put her uncovered truths on the table. "Why are we here, Tom?" she demanded immediately, sensing the weight of the moment advance upon them, each word a step deeper into the fray. As his smirk faded and genuine apprehension closed in, the realization hit her. She wasn't just confronting an employer, she was facing the murky waters of her own potential, ready to navigate the treacherous depths. "What you don't know could hurt you, Maria," he warned, but his words ignited the flame within. This was just the beginning. The conversation unfurled like an unexpected plot twist, and Maria realized she was ready to fully embrace her newfound courage. But as she prepared to push back against the darkness, something shifted in Tom's demeanor, revealing a threat closer than she had anticipated. "Maria," he said, leaning forward, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, "you have no idea what you're getting yourself into." The undeniable tension pulsed in the air, forcing Maria to reconsider everything she thought she knew. It was clear, the confrontation was a mere prelude. Her heart raced, and in that moment, she understood something fundamental. This was not just about facing Tom. It was about stepping into her own power, inching closer to becoming the advocate she had yearned to be for herself and for Lily. What would she uncover next? The depths of the unknown loomed ominously as she prepared to confront the truth, no matter the cost. Maria felt the pulse of her own heartbeat reverberating in her ears, each thud echoing the gravity of their encounter. Tom leaned back in his chair, a calculated calmness masking the underlying tension between them. She wrestled with the urge to recoil from his insinuations, but she held her ground, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "Is this about the articles?" she asked boldly. "The way you twist narratives to your advantage? You can't manipulate the truth forever, Tom." A flicker of surprise crossed his face, quickly replaced by a mask of amusement. "You think you can unravel the threads of my world so easily?" His words spilled over with condescension, igniting another spark of defiance within her. This meeting was not just a discussion, it was a battleground, a chance for Maria to assert her newfound determination. "I know enough to challenge you," she quipped, her voice unwavering. Tom's expression darkened. "Careful, Maria. The higher you climb, the harder the fall." Her stomach twisted at the implication of his threat, but she pressed on, refusing to allow him to intimidate her. "A fall implies there is something worth climbing for, Tom. I've spent too long tethered to your narratives, suffocating under your shadows. I won't allow this any longer." He leaned in, a predatory gleam in his eye. "And what happens when you break free? You think life outside my influence will provide clarity? You might find chaos instead. I've seen it consume others." Maria felt a chill race down her spine at the truth laced in his words. She had witnessed the chaos that often followed disillusionment, crises that stemmed from choices made in an attempt to reclaim power. Yet, as anxiety clashed with resolve, she became aware of her own tethered strength. She wasn't just asserting herself for her sake, it was for Lily too. Maybe chaos is the beginning of clarity, she countered, breathing life into her conviction. I won't let your fear dictate my decisions any longer. Tom's posture shifted, and she sensed an unsettling shift. Are you prepared for the consequences? He challenged, his tone clipped. If you proceed down this path, you might inadvertently bring harm to those you care for. Even Lily. Her breath caught as his words sliced through her bravado. The stakes had surged, and now the delicate balance she maintained felt precarious at best. Fear stitched itself closer to her heart, whispering unsettling doubts. Was her quest for truth worth the risk? I would do anything to protect her, Maria asserted, infusing her voice with every ounce of sincerity she could muster. No more hiding. I refuse to allow your secrets to cloud our lives. Not anymore. He studied her quietly, the smirk replaced with a contemplative pause. Those who seek truth must also embrace the darkness within it. Discover what lies buried, and you might not like what you find. Are you truly prepared for that? Her pulse quickened yet again, each beat resolute. In this moment, she confronted not just Tom's threats but the shadows of her own indecision. Life had always demanded sacrifice, and now she stood at the precipice of that very truth. Then let me discover it, she declared, a new ferocity igniting her spirit. Whatever lurks behind those secrets will not drown me. Tom held her gaze, an inscrutable expression crossing his features. Was it respect, curiosity, or perhaps concern? Then, he straightened, masking all vulnerability beneath a practiced facade. I admire your spirit, Maria. But remember, even the ambitious can be outmaneuvered. With that, he stood, leaving her in a whirlpool of thoughts and emotions. There lay a fine line between caution and fear. This was where her growth began. Maria knew that every door opened could also lead to shadows lurking in the corners. As she stepped back into the evening light, a new revelation dawned on her. The only way to guide Lily towards safety was through an unflinching acknowledgement of their circumstances. There were truths waiting to be unveiled, hidden competencies lying dormant for so long, and it was time for her to stake her claim upon them. Yet one question clawed at her mind. What had Tom meant by harm? A creeping unease followed her as she braced for the repercussions of her declaration. What secrets did he still hold that could threaten her newfound courage? Maria walked through the downtown streets, her mind replaying the confrontation with Tom like a relentless film reel. Each step felt heavier now, weighed down by the looming chaos he had alluded to. She tightened her grip on her purse, the leather cool against her palm, as if it could anchor her to some semblance of reality amidst the swirling uncertainty. The streets buzzed with evening energy, the hum of chatter and laughter starkly contrasting the turmoil within her. She sought solace in the vibrant chaos, yet each laugh reminded her of the stakes involved. Every moment was entwined with the need to shield Lily from the looming shadows Tom had cast over their lives. The need to act resonated louder than the clamor around her. As she found herself standing before a cafe, she surprised herself by stepping inside. It was a small, cozy place, the scent of freshly ground coffee wafting through the air. She needed clarity, an environment that offered her more than just echoes of her thoughts. The barista's warm smile was a welcome distraction, and the ritual of ordering her favorite brew provided a fleeting sense of normalcy. Sipping on something strong this evening? The barista asked, her bright eyes scanning Maria's face. Something like that, Maria replied, forcing a smile. The question dug deeper, though. Her facade was beginning to crumble, and her thoughts whipped together in an indecipherable storm. With her coffee in hand, she settled at a table by the window, watching the world pass by. She couldn't shake Tom's threats. His dark words curled around her thoughts, intertwining with her determination. Did she have the skills necessary to navigate the murky waters ahead? There was more to her than she had ever dared to believe, and it was time to unearth those hidden competencies. The first step, she knew, was gathering information. Intuition nagged at her. She had to dig deeper into Tom's world, and that meant embracing her previous role as a journalist. She had spent years weaving narratives from threads of truth, often uncovering injustice buried within communities. Turning her investigative lens back on the very foundations she once believed she understood might offer a route to liberation, the thought fueled a flicker of excitement. She picked up her phone and began to jot down a plan, a guideline to rediscover her own abilities. Research, interviews, and shadowing experienced colleagues could build her knowledge base while creating an unassailable position to match Tom's influence with her own narrative, but then the doubts crept in. What if she failed? What if the risk to Lily intensified instead of dissipated? Questions speared her resolve, but Maria took a steadying breath. No more second-guessing. She would edge toward the terrifying precipice she long avoided and leap. In that quiet cafe, determination coursed through her veins. The coffee now provided warmth instead of just caffeine. She envisioned herself sifting through data, conducting interviews, following leads. There was power in knowledge, a weapon stronger than Tom's manipulations. She also considered the possibility of alliances, those who might stand with her against his tide. An opportunity to reclaim her truth ignited a light within her that had nearly been extinguished. The journey would not be easy. Confronting Tom would require more than just courage. She would need strategy, wits, and perhaps even the support of those who had witnessed his machinations. As she finished her coffee, resolve washed over her. She could map a path forward. But even in her newfound clarity, unease tightened around her heart. Tom would not sit quietly while she sought independence. Suddenly, a thought struck her. Tom was not her only challenge. There were others out there, his associates, the shadows who worked in the corners of his influence. If she was to build a network, she needed to expose them too. This endeavor extended beyond her personal journey. It had to protect Lily at all costs. With a renewed sense of purpose, she gathered her things, slipping out into the evening. The determination coursed through her veins as she walked with conviction, each step a charge toward empowerment. What awaited her in the shadows remained unclear, but she was ready to embrace whatever came next. As she navigated the busy street, she couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. Had Tom already set his eyes on her? The question loomed as she began to formulate her first moves. The transformation had begun, but now it was time to engage with the darkness head-on. Could she withstand the scrutiny, and more importantly, could she endure the confrontation ahead? Maria strode purposefully down the street, her thoughts racing faster than her legs could carry her. Each footfall was a reaffirmation of her intention to reclaim her life, not just for herself but for Lily. The familiar streets felt different now, as if the very cobblestones were whispering secrets she was determined to uncover. She sensed a shift within. Fears still bubbled under the surface, but they were now accompanied by a growing determination. Her first order of business was to reach out to her former colleagues. She hadn't spoken to them in months, lost in a routine that had dulled her once vibrant ambition. Now she realized their insights could be invaluable. What had been a simple matter of reconnecting was turning into a strategic move, positioning herself at the helm of information rather than a passive recipient of whatever Tom wished to disseminate. With her phone in hand, she hesitated momentarily. The nagging fear of rejection clawed at her. What if they had moved on? What if her absence had rendered her invisible? She shook her head, shaking loose the thoughts that tethered her to inaction. She wouldn't allow self-doubt to steer her course anymore. Dialing the number of her old workplace, she felt a rush of adrenaline. The familiarity of the ring brought a comforting life to a world she'd left behind. When someone picked up, her nerves dissolved into the cadence of professional rapport she had honed over the years. "Hi, it's Maria. I'm back in town and looking to catch up." They were receptive, keen to hear about her life and eager to share connections, resources, and the ins and outs of the local journalism scene. Soon enough, she was arranging meetings and coffee dates, her network expanding with each conversation. As the days transformed into a week, Maria immersed herself in research. She retreated into her old office, a space filled with notes and clippings that had once fueled her passion. Drowning in memories sharpened with purpose, she began to recreate her investigative framework. Digging through old cases, she reminded herself how to navigate the balance between objectivity and passion, the exact tools she would need to dismantle Tom's machinations. The unease that had once constricted her mind was now a sharp edge of focus, it prodded her with urgency. She embraced unfamiliar faces at coffee shops around town, fellow journalists, law enforcement contacts, even anonymous sources she had worked with in the past, and each story shared planted seeds of knowledge that began to sprout a vision for her own investigation. Not every conversation was fruitful, but she was relentless. The pieces of Tom's puzzle started to take form. His operations weren't as clandestine as he believed. She needed only the courage to bring them to light, but the limits of her bravery were already stretching. A new sense of self emerged, molded by challenge rather than fear, and driven by the love she had for her daughter. Then came the day she found a lead, an associate of Tom's whose recent legal troubles might provide the chink in his armor. The contact was on the fringes, but their interactions hinted at deeper ties to Tom's operations. Gathering her courage, Maria arranged a meeting. Walking into the diner where they agreed to meet, her heart raced with anticipation and dread. This was one of her first direct confrontations with Tom's world, and she felt simultaneously powerful and vulnerable. As she scanned the room, she noticed the watchful eyes of a shadowy figure across the cafe. Her skin prickled, panic rising like bile in her throat. Had Tom somehow found out about her pursuit? Maria sat, forcing her features into a mask of calm, though doubt shifted uneasily within her. She had no choice but to push forward regardless of the potential fallout. The moment she opened her mouth to speak, she realized there was no turning back. The confrontation would define her path. Each step taken was solidifying her transformation from passive observer to active challenger. But the stakes had never felt so high. Could she maintain her newfound strength in the face of Tom's inevitable retaliation, or would that shadow at the cafe come to haunt her plans and betray her fears? The gun of uncertainty persisted as the figure rose to leave, and Maria couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away from her grasp. The heart of the matter lay just in front of her, pulsating with promise and peril. Would her quest for truth blindside her in ways she had not foreseen? Maria's gaze remained locked on the shadowy figure as they rose from their seat, a swirl of unease encasing her thoughts. She felt a flood of adrenaline surge through her veins, sharp and tingling. The desire to confront her fears battled with a deep-seated instinct to flee, but she refused to let uncertainty dictate her actions any longer. With a calculated breath, she directed her focus back to the task at hand. She reminded herself why she was there, to gather information that could dismantle Tom's precarious empire. She shook off the apprehension as she recalled the reason behind every step she'd taken. For Lily. This wasn't merely personal, it was about fortifying a future, one free from the shadows Tom cast. The moment her contact slid into the booth opposite her, she adopted an air of professionalism, the chatter of the diner around them becoming mere white noise. "Thanks for meeting me," Maria began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I wanted to talk about Tom's recent dealings." She placed her notebook on the table, a subtle reminder that she had come prepared. The man's eyes flickered, comprehension dawning against a backdrop of wariness. "What do you know about him?" he asked, leaning slightly forward as if they were conspiring rather than conversing. "I'm piecing things together about the operations he runs, the people involved," Maria replied, her voice firm, lingering on the edge of authority. The initial small talk dwindled away, the atmosphere thickening as the stakes of the conversation began to crystallize. They exchanged a volley of information about Tom, the tone transmuting from caution to urgency, as Maria's sharp questions broke through hesitations. Each piece of the puzzle she gathered reinforced her growing conviction Tom was far more exposed than he realized. Yet a heaviness settled in her chest with the understanding that if she was to succeed, she was going to have to delve deeper into his world, a realm ripe with danger and unpredictability. As the contact shared insights about Tom's financial ties and illicit maneuverings, a new resolve burgeoned within Maria. The shadow from across the cafe loomed large in her mind, but she channeled that fear into determination, solidifying her purpose with each revelation. Could she thwart Tom's ambitions? She was dangerously close to uncovering something major, and the thought ignited an excitement she thought she had long lost. Time drifted by, and the knowledge was becoming twofold, both empowering and suffocating. They finished their conversation, but Maria didn't feel the relief she anticipated. Instead, she left the diner weighed down by the gravity of what lay ahead. The stakes were not just about her confrontation with Tom, but about how she would navigate the treacherous waters of investigative journalism once more without compromising her ethics or endangering her daughter. Back outside, the cool air struck her face, invigorating and sharp. But her mind raced with worry. The shadowy figure was still across the street, watching, waiting. She quickly noted the man's features, his dark clothes blending into the night, his gaze calculating. Navigating back through the streets, she contemplated her next move. The interviews, the connections she had made, and the new lead were feeding a latent hunger for justice, but they were also edging her closer to danger. Keeping Lily safe while pursuing the truth felt like walking a tightrope. She began to wonder how much longer she could juggle these opposing forces before one tipped the scale forever. The drive to protect her daughter pushed her forward, but with each step deeper into the investigation, she felt the ground shift beneath her. Would the path she forged ultimately protect her family, or would her pursuit for truth unravel the very fabric she sought to safeguard? In that moment of reflection, a thought whispered through: what collateral damage would her pursuit of Tom incur? With every new lead, the line between justice and recklessness blurred, and Maria knew she was standing at the precipice. Where the next decision could redefine everything, the question hung heavy in the air: would she embrace this dangerous confrontation with Tom, or would she retreat, with the weight of her choices pulling her under? As she walked on, a chilling realization set in. The time had come to face the darkness that lurked in her past. Maria's heart pounded as she raced through the streets, the chill in the air contrasting with the fevered thoughts whirring in her mind. Each footfall echoed her growing disquiet. She was on the brink of a reckoning, both with Tom and her own decisions. The question of her next move loomed larger than her fear of the figure that had been watching her. Back home, the familiar surroundings offered little solace. The kitchen was dimly lit, the gentle hum of the refrigerator a poor comfort against the turbulence within her. She set her purse down on the table and noticed Lily's drawing sprawled across the counter, a crayon masterpiece of vibrant colors splashed against blank paper. A swift wave of guilt swept through Maria. Could this innocent child pay the price for her drive? It was in that moment of vulnerability that she heard the faint scritch of a pen against paper. Curious, she approached the dining area where the light cast a golden sheen across the table, revealing Lily at work with her own little notebook. "Mommy, I'm writing a story," her daughter chimed, eyes gleaming with pride. Maria couldn't help but smile, instinctively sitting beside her. "What's it about?" "It's a superhero who saves everyone from the bad guys," Lily announced, her voice imbued with conviction. The joy in her daughter's voice contradicted the darkness encroaching upon Maria's life, a jarring reminder of why she was pushing forward. In this moment, she saw her own reflection in Lily's innocent ambitions. Maria couldn't let fear dictate her path. She had to embody the strength her daughter saw in her. As she turned back to the revelations about Tom, a cutting realization pierced through her. She had to prepare for a confrontation not just with Tom, but with her own limitations. What had once felt like heroic pursuit had morphed into reckless hesitance. Steeling herself, she pulled out the notebook, her weapon against the tempest. Her fingers danced across the pages, jotting down every lead, every risky contact, all the bits of wisdom shared about Tom's Webb. The revelations felt daunting but enlightening. The more she uncovered, the more equipped she became, and in that empowerment, she discovered hidden strength. She was no longer a passive observer in Tom's game. She was learning to navigate the labyrinth on her terms, yet with each entry, doubt slinked in. Could she truly face him? Would her past decisions haunt her in this dangerous confrontation? Maria bit her lip, her mind's eye flashing back to moments of indecision, wondering what she could have done differently. Those thoughts were the chains she needed to break, not just for herself, but for her daughter. Standing up from the table, she resolved that her next step must be one of proactive engagement. Tom's world was a tangled network of fear and manipulation, but she was ready to study it from the inside out, armed with knowledge thrust upon her through grit and tenacity. But how could she infiltrate that world without losing herself in the process? What strategies could she execute that wouldn't jeopardize her connection with Lily? The fragility of that bond tightened around her like a noose, but it also fueled her resolve. Maria understood now that she needed to wield her vulnerability like a shield, turning it into a source of strength, and as the clock ticked toward nightfall, a new determination coursed through her. It was time to step into the shadows and face Tom. The weight of the decision pressed heavily on her. She would either confront him head-on or risk retreating into complacency, and with every moment of hesitation, the threads she had woven together began to fray. With one last glance at Lily, Maria grasped her notebook tightly, the pages filled with ink transformations, and whispered to herself, "This time, I will not falter." She took a deep breath and stepped into the night, every fiber of her being focused on the confrontation to come. What awaited her on this path was unknown, but it was certainty, more than fear, that propelled her forward. For the first time in many years, Maria felt ready to embrace the darkness, and she stepped toward the path that led to Tom and her past, knowing the confrontation had long been overdue. But little did she know, the real confrontation was brewing inside her, blurring the lines between empowerment and peril. Would she emerge from this fight unscathed? Would she finally prove to herself that she could stand strong against the shadows of her life? Maria stepped into the cold night, the stars a distant reminder of hopes overshadowed by her current reality. Each breath cut through the air sharply as she navigated the sidewalk, the city sounds dimming into a backdrop for the confrontation that awaited her. Her heart thrummed a pulsing rhythm of fear and defiance. Doubt lingered, but determination surged, thoughts of her daughter flickered through her mind. How could she protect Lily if she couldn't protect herself? As she walked, shadows unfurled around her, painting the environment with an ominous brush. Was it too late for her to save not just herself, but also her daughter from the lurking dangers? Maria paused at a street lamp, its feeble glow casting long silhouettes, one of which felt persistently familiar. The memories of Tom haunted her as she approached the neighborhood coffee shop, his chosen haunt, a casual meeting place turned cage for one unfulfilled promise after another. Would he recognize her resolve or only see the woman he could easily manipulate? Without hesitation, she pushed the door open. The bell jingled, a soft sound subsumed by the brisk chatter inside. She stood there for a moment, scanning the room. Was this where she'd forge a new connection or unwittingly re-enter a den of manipulators? Almost instinctively, she straightened her back, reinforcing her shield against the inevitable barrage of questions swirling around her resolve. Maria spotted him seated at the corner table. Tom's demeanor appeared unchanged, but behind the confident facade, she sensed a predator lying in wait. They locked eyes, and a shiver traveled down her spine as she recalled the balance of power that had once defined their relationship. Was she ready to challenge that? "Maria," he called, flashing a smile that failed to reach his eyes. "It's been a while." "What a surprise." "Yeah, it has," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "Can we talk?" Tom gestured to the empty chair across from him, inviting her into an unspoken landmine-laden conversation. As she sat down, the air thickened with tension, and she felt the heat of vulnerability tightening around her. "You've been keeping a low profile," he observed, eyes gleaming with a hint of curiosity. "What has got you back in this neighborhood?" Every instinct screamed to deflect and disengage. But Maria had committed to confronting her past with intention. "I want to discuss our last arrangement," she said, calculating each word as they slipped from her lips like stones cast into a silent lake. Tom raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Is that so? Didn't you think it was all settled? You know how these things go." "Settled?" The word had a bitter taste. "Things have changed," she said, searching for the right cadence to deliver her next words. "I can no longer accept being a pawn in your games." For a moment, silence enveloped them. She watched the flicker of surprise pass across Tom's face, quickly masked by a calculating smile. "Games? Maria, darling, if you thought you were merely a pawn, you've underestimated your role completely." He leaned back, arrogance dripping from his posture. She fought the urge to shrink back, reminding herself that this was about more than confrontation, it was about regaining control. "What do you mean?" Maria pressed, ignoring the pulse of anxiety tightening in her chest. "You have power in your hands that you haven't even tapped into," he replied, his eyes narrowing. "You see, understanding the game is half the battle. The other half is playing it well." Would this be the moment where she unlocked the hidden capability Tom spoke of, or was it a trap, a bid to ensnare her further? The cryptic edge in his tone stirred something deep within her. "Tell me what you're holding back," she demanded. "What do you know that I don't?" Tom's smile widened, and as shadows danced across his features, Maria realized this was her moment to assert herself fully. The confrontation was only beginning, but she had already taken the first step into the depths of danger and revelation. Just then, something flickered in Tom's expression, a trace of respect or maybe caution. It was hard to tell, but one thing was clear: she would not leave this conversation without uncovering the truth. The night was still young, and Maria was poised at the edge of uncharted territories, where empowerment and peril coiled around one another like serpents. But what awaited her next could pull her into a vortex she wasn't ready to face. Would she discover the truth buried in Tom's cryptic words, or would it lead to deeper conflict and misjudgments? The stakes continued to rise, but Maria was determined to emerge from the shadows, no matter the cost. Maria stood at the threshold of transformation as she faced Tom, the man whose hidden truths had woven their lives into a complex tapestry of deception and unresolved tension. No longer shackled by fear or uncertainty, she felt like a coiled spring ready to propel her into action. With clarity illuminating her path, Maria decided it was time to dismantle the facade and reclaim her story. He smirked, but she summoned every ounce of conviction within her. "I know you're hiding something, Tom. Now is the time to lay your cards on the table." The words cut through the air, sharp and decisive. For the first time, the power dynamic shifted, and Tom's confidence faltered. "Maria," he began, but she interrupted, driven by courage. "No more games. I've spent too long allowing you to dictate my narrative. This ends now." Her pulse quickened, unleashing a wave of adrenaline that emboldened her stance. She had journeyed through chaos and doubt, but now stood firm in her resolve. With measured breaths, Maria tapped into her experiences as a journalist, wielding her understanding of truth like a sword. "I want to know what you're really involved in. I want to uncover it, and I won't be silenced anymore. You may think you control the narrative, but I am ready to turn the tables." Tom leaned back, assessing her with a newfound intensity. "You really believe you can succeed where others have failed?" She met his gaze, unwavering. "Yes. And it's not just for me. It's to protect Lily from the repercussions of your shadowed ambitions." For Maria, the stakes had escalated. Not only was she confronting her past, but she also sought to shield her daughter from the looming threat Tom represented. "You think you fight for her, yet you enter a world you barely understand," he countered, but his tone bore hints of discomfort. The longer they spoke, Maria sensed an unspoken acknowledgement that the delicate threads of control he had once held were fraying. In the ensuing silence, a revelation blossomed within Maria. She could no longer exist in the shadows, she was ready to step into the light. "I'm not afraid of the darkness, Tom. Whatever secrets you hold won't intimidate me anymore. It's time to expose what lies beneath." As the conversation ebbed and flowed, she unveiled strategic threads, insights drawn from her investigations, leading to potential allies in her pursuit of truth. Each piece she articulated chipped away at Tom's illusions, revealing his vulnerabilities. She noticed the slight twitch in his brow when she mentioned individuals still caught in his web. All at once, she realized the sphere of influence stretched further than she had initially perceived. "Every secret will come to light, Tom. The truth isn't just mine to wield, it intertwines with all those you've manipulated." Her voice resonated with unwavering confidence, signaling a decisive departure from a life once marked by uncertainty. In one unexpected moment, Tom's mask slipped. The way he shifted his gaze told Maria he had become cornered. "You're stepping into perilous territory, Maria," he warned, but she would no longer cower in the wake of that threat. "I embrace the peril," she replied, her spirit buoyed by a fierce clarity. "And I promise you, I will not falter." The words poured from her soul. They became vows not just to Tom but to herself. Their confrontation had morphed into an exhilarating dance of power and defiance. She controlled the cadence, exposing the dark undercurrents of Tom's empire. Maria relied on her skills, weaving her narrative with newfound strength, leaving no retraction in her wake. As the weight of her journey settled upon her shoulders like armor, she felt solid confidence emerge from within. For the first time in a long while, Maria embraced a profound realization: she was not merely a victim of circumstance but an architect of her own destiny. "Remember, Maria," Tom said, though there was less bite in his voice, "you might find yourself overwhelmed by chaos." But Maria simply smiled, bolstered by clarity. Maybe chaos is where growth begins. For both of us. With each passing moment, the resolution solidified like concrete. This was a pivotal instance of personal growth. Maria had proven to herself that she could navigate the turbulent waters of darkness and ambiguity. She had climbed the precarious ladder of her past to reclaim her identity, and in doing so, undoubtedly secured a brighter future for Lily. As she exited the cafe, purpose radiated from her very being. The layers of her former life had been shed, revealing her newfound composure and established position as an empowered woman who would stop at nothing to protect the dreams she held dear. This was not just a confrontation, it was a triumph. Today, Maria conquered the fears that had shackled her for too long, and with every step ahead, her resolve crystallized. She was ready to embrace her role not just as a protagonist in her journey but as a fierce guardian of her daughter's future. You need to subscribe now to the channel to keep up with these exclusive transformative narratives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It genuinely makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending because we want to hear from you. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Your support is crucial to empowering stories like this.